Hey everyone, welcome again to our live seminar. I appreciate you guys dropping by. I know that I had to make a new channel last second. I had the whole headset mess up, so apologize for that, guys. But just make your guys' way into the room and we'll get started. Again, we're going to go off the same way before. First and foremost, I love this blanket I got. Kuhn sent it to me, compliments of the PAC store. Obviously, I am not a professional streamer, but he sent me a ton of other stuff that I plan to put in the background, put a little more PAC swag in here just so that we feel a little more at home with each other. So again, appreciate you guys dropping by, and we'll just wait for others to jump in here, and we're gonna go off of the chat, pushing our direction of our conversation. I definitely have a couple things I want to talk about. Just giving you guys an update of what has gone on this week in our development room on our preparation to launch for NFT support, token layer for PAC protocol, etc. We had a really productive week this week, playing around in testnet, issuing tokens with their own supplies, transacting them to different wallets, all that stuff. So it's been really fun for us to finally have that into an active testnet. That's where the fun stuff starts to come out even more, like just seeing how it actually interacts on a network. Again, we have to also always expect, when what you're doing in testnet, it's not always going to be the exact same once you go mainnet. Obviously, because of the sheer size of the different networks, the testnet doesn't have 22,000 plus nodes supporting it. Mainnet does. So, obviously bugs come up, but so far so good. Everything looks beautiful. Not ready for launch at this specific moment, but it's cool that we're finally able to be in a active testnet scenario where different tokens, not just one issuance, not just Yan token, but how I mentioned before, how this is going to be a network where people will be eventually, they will be allowed to issue their own token, their own, issuance, the supply, etc. And then additionally NFT support. So those are two separate things. Yan token, I saw this brought up in I think just a discussion on Twitter, maybe it was Discord, I don't remember exactly. Talking about just the confusion maybe of Yan token, Yan DNA, NFTs, just maybe how it's been said or even written. Verbiage might be off or misrepresented or just misunderstood. So I do want to kind of jump into that really quick, just to pure out and explain the difference. Yan token is going to be a token. Like it's a fun, like you can actually send these things. It's a token. People have been reading it as like Yan is going to be the NFT. That's misstated. Especially I was reading in the light paper. That's my fault. Yan token is going to be a token. It's a token that you will be receiving as a masternode owner for supporting the network. And then it's also a token that you can use just like, other any token. You can transact them. So I just want to clear that point. And why it's, I guess, misunderstood or misspoke on our side or whatever the cause, is because we also are doing NFT support. So yes, it's going to be both. You're going to have a token layer. That's what I'm excited about right now. I'm excited about both, but that's what we did this week in testnet, just messing around with that, being able to issue your own token and your own supply for your own project, if that's something you want to do on our network, obviously. But more projects, more better. How cool is that? I'm super excited about that. So but again, just to reiterate, it's not something that's going to be active right at launch, because we do not want to overshadow the first token layer. Like we kind of want to celebrate that a bit and celebrate that with you guys. That Yan token is the first token to be issued because there's a legitimate reason behind it. There's a project, there's a use case, Yan DNA, not requiring, but you to be able to reserve data storage using Yan tokens that you earn now from the PAC protocol network when that goes live. So we don't want to overshadow the first token on this token layer, it being Yan token. But eventually it's going to be how we're doing it in testnet right now, where we're issuing different tokens in their own supply and sending them to each other and just making sure it's working. It's going to be a possibility for people to make their own projects, their own supply, and immediately with full support of 22,000 plus nodes recording all transaction history, full ledger. I'll wait until it happens, but when that's finally live, I'm very confident in expressing that this is without a doubt, without a debate, without an argument, the largest network period that you can build a project on top of in pure amount of servers supporting the network. So, I mean, that's just a number that's going to be absolutely true towards any project that we, if we're just comparing server power and the amount of servers that are making sure that things are working. PAC protocol is now on that layer, on that level of you can choose this network to build on top of, and look at the power of the network as it's been growing so far. Kind of important also why we have introduced IPFS as well, because it's going to be hand in hand, where IPFS data storage solution is going to be, as we've said, for different industries, a lot of different projects as well. And if you're building on top of PAC protocol and you need an IPFS solution, well, there you go. So, we do plan. We do a lot of good planning. Sometimes it may take longer to, someone's eyes or how they view things, but we're very confident in our approach. And I'm just super excited about this week, our actions that we've had in our dev room together, being able to play around on testnet with the different token issuance and just seeing it active and live on this network. Like, that's something that people hear from the beginning with PAC protocol, even before it being transferred into a network that can support masternode adoption. This is a huge, huge step from where it's all started to where we are now, just at the, grand scale of all the different things that are now going to be possible on top of this network and just available for everyone. So that was my, exciting week of developmental fun stuff that we've been working on. Also, you guys have probably paid attention to the different updates that have been pushed, just minor ones. There was one recently for PAC app about a week and a half ago, and then one recently as well for DNA. So we have a lot of really cool stuff planned for you guys coming up. Again, announcements will be for actual. I'm sorry, I said Yan DNA is an update. Yan safe, my fault. The 2.11 non-mandatory update just fixes bugs and UI changes to make Yan safe easier to use and understand. So again, as different updates get pushed, some of them are going to be, just if you want to update and you've had problems with some bugs and maybe a little bit of UI changes, maybe make it a little easier for you, you might just enjoy it more. A lot of these updates, they're not going to be mandatory. But there are updates that are considered mandatory for them to go into effect for the network. So just to be clear on that, when we say mandatory, it's an update that is requiring network-wide consensus. So if everyone supporting the network enjoys these type of updates and wants these updates to go live and the features that we're trying to offer to everyone, that's when we use the word mandatory update for the network to come to consensus to agree to this, agree to the proposed updates, changes, etc., to the network. So in the event that the masternodes do not update and majority consensus is not met, then the update doesn't happen and we just stick with where we're at. So I just want to also explain the verbiage of why we say mandatory update versus non-mandatory update. Non-mandatory updates means it's just connected to the same network. There's no network changes that you need to be aware of or that have happened, I should say. But there might be small little updates inside the applications or products that we built for you guys that make your life easier or have addressed bugs that have been reported from you guys, the community, or that we have found internally as time goes on with our products live. Thank you, Yan. I appreciate it. I need to adjust the camera a bit so that this is wider, or that way it doesn't just look like a blanket full blanket laying down. But I like it. It's super soft. I was not expecting this at all. It was an awesome surprise to get in the mail. So again, thank you, Kuhn. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, definitely. Absolutely. Internal analysis has definitely been done on that. I mean, that's not something that is affecting the overall network at all as far as functionality use. It's, the master node, the amount of nodes that are on our network, all the features are still, being actively, like it's still active. There's nothing being screwed up by that. But yeah, it is a quorum check because if it is a quorum issue because of what we came down to when looking like why is this happening is when you look at Dash's network size compared to our network size, their quorum solution just isn't like the best solution for a network that's a lot bigger, like a lot bigger. Like we're not even 2 times bigger, we're 3 times bigger, we're at least 4 times bigger as far as node count, probably even more than that. But it just caused a little bit more of issues with the quorums to where some nodes were not being properly assessed. So that's definitely being addressed. Definitely part of the updates that we plan to be issuing out to everyone. That way, the master nodes have more of a quorum system that's fitting to our network, and that the POS band system, it still works, it's still operational. It's not, basically not working is what I'm trying to say. But what it does leave the door open to right now is there are some individuals that restart their node at specific times, so that their POS score resets before they're penalized. Not a practice that I would obviously recommend, nor is it beneficial to yourself or the network because you're not doing anything. You're just actually spending more time and making it a little more stressful on yourself. But overall, as a whole, if you look at the active count versus the inactive count, that's pretty stable number. It doesn't really change often. I think the last time I looked, it was like 2% inactive. And so even in the event that, some of that 2% is considered, or vice versa, some of the other percent, like the active, is actually incorrect because of this issue that you mentioned. It's been a pretty stable number. The quorum system has never been, I guess, what's the word, compromised. And the network still performs as it performs. The confirmations, the instant send. Even a lot of people don't even realize one of the crazy good features of PAC protocol as far as sending and transacting, receiving PAC, native PAC, is you can actually receive those coins and resend them before the full 6 confirmations go through because of how our network is built, because of the instant send feature, because of the quorum check, because of the LMQ, etc. So we have so many cool things that allow our network to perform, and we're always addressing different things to make sure that quote unquote can't cheat a system. But that's something that you're ultimately always going to be battling in one way or the other. There's always going to be some type of exploitation that someone tries to take advantage of. And even in the attempted, trying to do something, it makes us not pay attention to it because it's just like that's what ultimately what it always comes down to in a decentralized network where you're relying on, people, people to on their own support a network. You're also going to unfortunately have those individuals that people on their own want to do something negative or just try to benefit themselves. So yes, definitely something that we're focused on. Hope I explained that just a little bit. But overall, our network is fully functional, and I have not seen any issues be, brought up by this other than the fact that someone is messing around with their server and doing stuff that allows them to kind of extend their penalty score system. Yeah, Matt, maybe, I mean, this probably isn't the time to because it won't be very easy for me to go over what you tested and just look at everything. So probably not the right time for us to go over this. But if you want, you can send myself or Yan a message of your test that you did, and we can compare it to the tests that we've done. Yeah, I mean, thank you for bringing it up. Can I ask you a question? I just want to know what drew you to perform this test? What was the reasoning for this? This is a pretty specific test that you'd have to do for to see if they're responsive or not. So I was just curious, what drew you to that action? Was something going wrong for you in the network? I'm just curious. Hey, you don't have to answer if you don't want. You're not required to. I was just wondering, that's a hearing zombie node. That's a very small circle of individuals that talk about things like this. I just keep seeing specific topics being brought up that I don't see people talking about at all. Very, very minimal unless they're in their own chat rooms, in which case, whatever. I'm obviously not being able to see these things. But I'm just curious, what's bringing up these questions of zombie nodes or performing tests to see if they're responsive or not. Like, I just want to make sure nothing's going wrong on the network that I'm not aware of, because I haven't seen any issue to cause for concern or cause for experimental testing. I appreciate the effort, but I just would like to know if something's going on. Okay, so yeah, I mean, do you want to talk about like what this is the point for? Like, I can't give you a answer if all I hear is I see claims of something. Like, you got to be a little bit more specific so I could be address that. Like, what claims, like what exactly is going on here? Because I mean, obviously, I can't be on every single feed of Twitter, every single post that is happening or occurring about PAC. But I am very active, or at least I appear to be very active in Discord and Telegram. Like, I'm always available. If I don't respond right away, I do eventually get to stuff. But those are definitely our most active like community forums where it's actually shown a lot of positive energy. I've seen nothing negative. I've seen a lot of people like even complimenting each other of joining into this space and learning things. And I have not seen any of these topics being brought up. So I'm just curious why they don't ever get brought up in our community forum sessions. And if there's specific claims, I would like to hear them, especially if they're drawing in community members and basically convincing them to do tests on their own. I would like to know what's going on there so I can maybe do these tests too, because it's really hard for me to like say anything to it if I can't see what these claims are specifically. Well, maybe we can get back to that, or you can send me a message, or maybe we can just take it to just so that I can get a further grasp on like what these claims are of zombie nodes and functionality, etc. So maybe we can address it or make sure that it's addressed. I mean, okay. I mean, what's the specific reason though for? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand the specific reason or why something would be brought up to be needing to do something like that without attaching, like saying something is obviously just like the chain's not working or things don't work. Like, as I just mentioned, all the like our chain locks, LOMQ, our confirmation times, our average block time, all of these things are consistently working. Very little issues. The only issues that have popped up that just recently were patched over are just in products like connecting to the network overall, either an Electrum server issue or whatever. But as far as the chain itself, like I haven't seen any stalling activity. I haven't seen anyone not being able to confirm transactions due to blocks not confirming. Everything has been very consistent. The ability to receive coins and send them before full confirmation is still always active. So I'm just a little concerned of why, first of all, this individual CB, why this individual is consistently being brought to my attention from other people and not him directly. These are live, these are open discussion. Anyone can join here. If it's so concerning to where testing is being brought forth to community members to do it, and I'm not even hearing about it, I take a problem with that because I can't say anything or do anything because I'm not being involved in what's being said until afterwards, until the fingers are now being pointed at, and I can't even be part of the discussion from point one. That's why I'm doing these, because I'm specifically not going to do this back and forth of he said this, is this true? Well, let's come here and we'll have these discussions so that we can come to a solution together. Um, Nodes not being connected to a server can happen to any master node. That's what the POS band score system is for. In the event a server is disconnected, you have a time frame to fix it so that you don't miss out on your next scheduled reward. what people have assumed, or not assumed, but people that know how to manage servers and or try and take advantage of a system, is that they look at this POSBN score. They know that it is the amount of master nodes and it cannot go past that certain time. And so since our quorums are too small for our current network, because we are a much larger network versus Dash, our quorum does not is it's not designed to check every single master node at the exact same time, because there's a POS band score system. You're allocated X amount of time to fix your node. So if I am in a line, a deterministic master node line of when my reward is going to be, and it tells me it's going to be 20,000 blocks from now, because or 22,000 blocks from now. I just made a master node right now and it's new. So I'm at the back of the line. I have to wait 22,000 blocks. If I want to be silly about this for no reason, I could turn on my master node, get added to the queue, and then just wait until my servers, or my scheduled time is, and then I'll turn my server on. So that's someone taking advantage of the solution that was presented, so that masternode rewards were not random anymore. If they were random, you couldn't do that anymore. So the second that we've changed to a deterministic system, which everyone enjoys, knowing exactly when your masternode is going to be rewarded, it's better for your planning, just personally, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people have agreed with that. Since we've changed to a system that's deterministic, you know exactly when you're being rewarded. Some individuals have chosen to turn their master node off until that block or a few blocks ahead of the POS band score inactivates their node or disconnects them from receiving a reward. So that's something that, two solutions. You have multiple quorums to where the POS band score is no longer the entire length of the cycle. It is split up. But that's still, by the size of the network, by interaction of people, like, you cannot control what one person does on their server. I can't control what you do on your server. It's a decentralized setup to where people are supposed to be supporting with actual resources. If someone finds a way to try and exploit it, of course, we'll try and do something to fix it to where people aren't doing something like that. But at the grand scheme of things, the network is not being susceptible to a mass attack of something like that. The community here is a community, I think, of pretty, down to earth, good people, people with honor, and people that are actually giving the resources to PAC protocol. The growth of the network has gone nothing but up over just from beginning to end, to not end, but to now. And I'm not convinced at all that it's a issue to be presented in a way that is causing mass panic or mass testing, because there's nothing on the network that's being faulted. If anything, the only thing that is being achieved is someone is receiving PAC rewards by, I guess, not paying anything, which is, I mean, that kind of sucks that if an individual would do something like that to a network that they're quote unquote supportive of, and or spread the information, or try and get other people to do it, that kind of goes completely against being a supportive community member, especially if the people that are pushing the updates or that you are expecting to address the problem, I'm not being directly talked to. So CB, if you are paying attention, please come to me. If you have like some things that you want us to discuss, you can come here. You can send a direct message. You can do actually a lot of different things. I have email, I have Twitter, I have LinkedIn, all these different things. So if something is affecting your ability to operate on this network, or there's some issues that you like preventing you from enjoying all the features that are available to everyone else in this network, please let me know so that we can address it and fix it. But again, Matt, to go back to the beginning of it, yep, ghost nodes are a possibility. A very slim impact on the network for it to be affecting a network of over 22,000 nodes. As we've talked about, all features are continuing to work consistently. And as the update that we're about to push comes along, that could be something that is added into for the future. Yeah, I mean, I would just For that to be a concern for the network's health, it would have to actually impact the network's health, start not allowing certain features to operate. And I think, well, I know we haven't had those issues. So yes, it's in the plans for our queue times to be lowered. Um, Obviously needed to happen because the network grew, and when networks grow, you have to make updates. It's like it's really not a big deal. So we have one queue for getting rewards. It can be updated to have multiple queues, and you are put into a quorum size that is fitting for our network, and you will be rewarded at the deterministic block that is stated. Um, and the POS band score may not be the full list. It will come up with may not be the full line, like meaning you have to wait your full line to get your reward, but maybe the POS band score isn't the same length. Maybe it's cut in half, maybe it's a fourth, maybe it's a third. We will explore different options, push them to the network, and to be honest, that kind of solution just right now in my head doesn't really make sense to focus on because the network is working. There's no missing links here. And in the event that we cut the queue time in half or a quarter, or maybe the queue becomes random again, which I don't want, I don't think anyone here wants, because we do enjoy the deterministic method of knowing when exactly a chain's going to reward you for your service. Kind of seems to me that if the queue is like 400 and you know it's 400, maybe you can still do the same thing. Um, Someone with a bot, I'm sure, could operate their servers, but that does not stop the fact that you still need collateral. The event, if masternodes are being put on the network, you still need collateral. You cannot have a ghost zombie masternode with nothing attached to it. So would be really silly. Um, as someone looking at something maybe at a monetary value, to acquire PAC and acquire enough to have a master node to support the network, to grow its usability, to grow its use cases. The whole point, I think, of what people actually want when getting involved in any cryptocurrency network is to want it to succeed, right? Wouldn't make much sense at all to acquire 500,000 PAC, which at today's value, I believe, is like $1,500, and don't even support the network. And like that would literally be silly. For what gain? Um, wouldn't be much of a gain, in my opinion, if that became a widespread factor, because then the network wouldn't be able to perform. And the rewards, quote unquote, if used as monetary value, would be pretty worthless, in my opinion, especially if I was the one doing it. So, deterministic masternode queue, my opinion, is a must. That way, you know where you're at on the chain. You know exactly, when you're expected to get your rewards. And that's going to come into factor as we move forward with all these other token layers that are being the token layer with all the different projects that can be added to this network. It's going to be really cool. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's one possible thing that just needs to be experimented on to see if it's even possible in our network. But yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was trying to explain, where you have the deterministic queue still, so you know exactly when you're getting your reward, and then the POS band system is completely random. That's a possibility. I think that could work. But at the end of the day, it might not just be operational in a network our size. We just have to play around with things like that. But what I'm just trying to get at here is, yes, there are obviously always going to be different things that we can push to this network to improve quality. It's never going to be perfect right at the first. Even this solution that we're talking about right now, we could find a better solution down the road. It's just all about us being able to make sure that the network is operating as advertised. The features that are accessible to everyone. But obviously, to be a part of that, you have to obviously have PAC, or in the future, any token that is part of PAC. So the PAC, I should say. So you know, as long as the features in the networks are operating and performing right, if a masternode owner wants to be cheeky, I mean, you're not going to be able to have complete, utter, just, oh, I can control what you do on your server, because I can't. I can't control what you do on your server. Yes, you can push the update button, but if it's not working, and I'm assuming you're obviously talking about Nyan Safe. If it's not working for whatever reason, you can always update to on the website. Wow, I was drawing a blank. Up Only TV. Hey JLo, it's been a long time. How are you doing, man? I appreciate you stopping by. Still got the Jumpman logo. Up Only TV. I don't know what that is. What is that, like is it like like a podcast or something or what? Also, by the way, Jacob, I see your comment, biggest node network in the space. Um, one of the biggest. There are other chains out there that have a larger node network per se, that doesn't operate our way, but they do have a large network. I forget the name of them. But one thing that is really cool that I'm very just happy to be a part of, and just it's a historic moment for not just PAC, but just the space in general, is that when this token layer is implemented and pushed, we will be the largest blockchain period that you can build a project on top of. Like, not only the length of like existence, first of all, like PAX transaction history goes back how many years, and then also the amount of full nodes and servers that are hosting full ledger activity of every token that's on top of this blockchain, including PAC. There is not a bigger network out there than 22,000 plus nodes that you can also build another project on top of, have your own token, have your own supply. And by the way, open to anyone to do. You just have to be able to do it, which there will be steps and that'll be explained. It'll, you need a balance of PAC, obviously, to be able to do this. This will be explained, but it's open to anyone. So it's, that's a statement that I'm going to just love being able to say is absolutely true. Just one of the, we are the largest network that you can build a project on top of when this update is fully done. So super cool. Brand awareness campaign, yeah. So we had an event that we were going to attend. Had, well, I mean, it was. I mean, I can say this actually. It had a lot to do with the Hollywood industry. Very similar to ones that we've done in the past. We were going to specifically be targeting the audience and like bringing them into the space as like white glove service, as NFT, support, et cetera. Explain them PAC, explain all the things that we can do for them, not only PAC protocol, but us as a development company, and introduce them into the blockchain space. That's a way that we've been very successful of just being able to break it down and educate like what blockchain is, not always as a selling point, but just like people need to understand why it is the future. Like, it's not going to be this complicated guru, only people know how to use it. Like, it's going to be easy. That's why everything that PAC focuses on, our products that we deliver, we want it to be easy. We don't want it to be something that you need to know how to enter 20 digits at, make sure you don't screw up the freaking long address that you have, or just stuff like that. It needs to be easy. Like, sending a text message is easy. Like, getting on the internet is easy. And so that's what we're like mainly successful in, is being able to have these conversations with these people and show them like this is how it's supposed to be. And you don't need to know how it's working, just like you don't need to know how email technically works. Like, some people want to know, which is fine. But eventually, for this to be the next generational technology, I'm not, it's not going to be something that everyone wants to be educated on or needs to be educated on. It'll be so standardized in our life that it's just easy. It's just normal. So what we had planned, but unfortunately, the event was postponed because of the new variant that is taking over certain areas of the world. The event wasn't postponed actually per se, but it was turned into an online only event. And in our opinion, that just isn't very ROI productive when it comes to like, we want to be face to face with people and actually like talk to them and have them see who we are as people. Online event only kind of stuff definitely messes up that, in my opinion, just makes it a little more complicated to have like conversations with people, especially if it's an open chat room. Like, you could just have like people talking over each other, and maybe other people start listening to what you're saying, but it's just not a good setting, in my opinion. So but that doesn't mean that we're slowing anything down. We just change our direction as far as where our marketing's going. If we can't get into person to person locations, stuff like that, because of current waves of COVID, we're going to go back to our marketing strategy of, press release blitzes, billboard marketing campaigns, getting in locations, Also, obviously targeting specific genres, the ones that we are targeting, which is no secret, obviously the blockchain industry, but I've talked about e-gaming many of times. That's an industry that we're directly, going to be targeting this year. It's a main focus for us. So, just expect it. I can't, like, again, I'm not going to give announcements of when and what we're going to do because it's planning, it's execution, staying organized. But we have a budget for that. We have a budget for this development that we're doing now. And then we have other things that I've mentioned in our past couple seminars that I just cannot talk about right now. And I really wish that I can, but I can't. And it's going to be really, really exciting and cool for everyone to just be like, wow, I can't believe this was going on in the background and no one knew about it. So it a lot of it's going, hand in hand, timing, making sure that we got our token layer ready to go, making sure we got NFT support, making sure we got our IPFS data storage operational, so and optional for NFT support for any files. We want it to be easy, and that's not an easy thing to do. That's what needs to just maybe be appreciated. We need to even appreciate it ourselves, like ourselves, the work that we have to put in to making things easy. It's not easy, and sometimes we get too hard on ourselves, pressure on ourselves, just trying to produce something good that you guys like. There is no ROI in development. Making There's no ROI in producing something until it's produced and it's out. And even then, there's no guarantee. It has to be well liked, well used. And if it's not, well, then we have to figure out another way for us to present something that is useful. But that's why we take time, is because we want to make sure that it is. And so far, the products that we put out, I've seen nothing but good things, and just expect that to continue as we grow, our budgets grow, the different things that we can get involved in, grows or changes. The PAC will always be represented. We are part of the PAC, and you guys are just as part of that PAC as well. So for the NFT aspect, Adonis Crypto, I'm just going to reread your statement/question. For the NFT aspect, is it more ideal to wait until Yan DNA is out of beta to include it in the campaign, or are you confident that the full launch will be successful? So two things. One, I think we should take a step back and realize that those are two different things. PAC protocol allowing people to mint NFTs alone is a crazy accomplishment. A year ago, no one part of PAC ever thought that NFT support on PAC protocol is even going to come or exist or be possible. That's now here. That's amazing. IPFS YanDNA, that's an optional solution for you to use for backup storage. You're already minting your NFT on the chain. It's already going to be somewhere. But IPFS is offered to be a solution for storage for NFTs, because you can't control the chain. You can't control the chain. I can't control. If Bitcoin could offer NFT support and I upload an NFT to Bitcoin, I have no clue what server that NFT is on. And if that owner of that server decides to go off and that metadata is not stored, is stored, but the server's gone, I can't access it anymore. So there are already pitfalls in like NFT minting and making sure that it stays available. That's why you have to make sure that you back up your info. Just like it's important you back up your private keys. If you lose your wallet or you lose your password and you don't have a backup to it, you're donezo. Like most of the time, it's very difficult to get it back. Same thing goes with NFTs. That's why YanDNA is an optional solution. So when we push this update for NFT support, you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to store your NFT anywhere. It doesn't have to be just YanDNA. YanDNA, yes, it's in beta currently, but you can still use it for that usage. It could still be used for you to store your info there. You can even have a backup of it on a USB as well. So we have mentioned that YanDNA, it's beta form. When we take it full live and operational, we do plan, and we can and we will make sure that all the data that is stored on there gets carried over into your account. Not into it's still your account. Like saying like things aren't going to erase. It's just going to basically be a switch of beta to live, with the access of other people able to install IPFS on their servers instead of it being solely relied on the current servers that are running IPFS, which are our master nodes that are owned by individuals of the LLC. So it just goes hand in hand. But you can always use it. You can use the NDNA now, store your pictures, files, NFTs, etc. It's available for you to do so right now. There are no NFTs being able to be minted on PAC, but if you were to mint an NFT on another chain, you absolutely can use this product right now to store it. I mean, absolutely. So it's not like completely out of the realm to like not include it in any type of branding or any type of campaign that we run, because they're separate. We can say NFT support now available on PAC protocol, where you can mint your NFT, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. More info will be coming on this when this update goes out. So you guys will hear more and read more and be like, wow, this is how you do it. Oh, I can actually maybe hint possibly automatically already have it stored into my Yandy account on Mint. I mean, possibly, we'll see. I'm not going to give you that information now because, like I said, that's going to be coming. But those are two separate things. Being able to mint an NFT and you have Yandy, if you have a beta account stored over there, once it's live and fully functional and not out of beta, you can do the same thing. And you can do the same thing on other IPFS supportive networks. You can host your NFT on your own little USB drive as backup. So, but you got to remember your NFT is also originally on the chain that you put it on, or at least the data to it. Let's see here. And I do want to make this request. I don't think I'm being too outlandish or unreasonable. I'm doing these videos very frequently, just based off of how active the chat is, or if we don't have a lot to talk about that day, so be it. Like I don't want to waste anyone's time, etc. But I do have one request that I think is pretty easy for all of us to follow. If you have a question, um, ask it in your own tense because you want to. I don't. I do not like responding to nor having conversations as like I'm talking to the middleman. So if someone has a question, I would very much appreciate and respect it a hell of a lot more if it was directly being told to me from that person. Because this is open, everyone can literally come here. There's no one blocked. There's no one that can't access YouTube if they can access other social media platforms. And if there's something legitimate that needs to be brought up, that's why I'm doing these things. So for the future, for my case, for everyone's case, just so that we can actually have like open discussions about these, I don't want any questions being represented as a middleman, or like this was something that was brought up by someone else and now it's being like, that's just literally the pure definition, in my opinion, of FUD, because everyone has the opportunity to be here. And if we're listening to other sources and saying this and that, and then that person isn't even coming here to talk in his own as himself, I can't and I will not be tolerating conversations like that anymore. And I'm not pinpointing anyone specifically, and not just today, not saying it happened today. It's happened in the past. I've gotten DMs from people basically representing someone else. And, I can't have conversations like that. It's not fair to me, because if it's a direct, jab at me or my team, or saying they can do something better than we can do it, awesome. Like, we are not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect, but let's just do this in a civil way. So where if you want to talk to me, or if there's something that we can improve, that's what these are for. And if that's the case, someone's asking you to, hey, can you do this for me? Can you ask this question for me? Just give a friendly reminder, like, dude, these are open. Anyone can join. No one's restricted from joining here. So that's my only request on these. Everything else, as far as like making sure you guys are civil here and there's nothing bad happening in the chat. That's basically it. I just don't want questions coming at me as in the state of representing someone else, because I've had that in DMs the past couple of days, even days where we weren't having streams, and just that's it. Let's see here. I actually want to look at this right now. Since I'm on here, maybe I can get a quick scan. Matt, if you're still there, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but would you mind going to Discord after the stream, or just whenever convenient for you, and just direct messaging me or private messaging me, whatever it's called, and just giving me your results that you got, because I'm curious now, whether or not this is like should be classified as an issue, because I haven't seen any issue on the network. I haven't seen any feature not be working as intended. So I would just like to know like what your, I guess, end results were, so we can compare them with what we got, if you don't mind. If you do, that's fine. But that's just one of my requests to you. And just to, I guess, be transparent on something, um, I mean, on this topic that we are kind of talking about, none of the individual nodes that anyone representing an owner of PAC Global Holdings LLC is performing as a ghost node. They are all very much active on servers, and that can be obviously shown by the fact that IPFS is running on top of these. So I don't want to see that being brought up either, because I've seen that already attempted, saying that owners of the LLC are equipped with over 60% of the network and master nodes, which is a plain out 100% false lie. I don't even know how that number could be come up with, but whatever. Just being transparent. We don't, nowhere near that. And the amount of coins that have been minted over the past and supported by the network and the master node owners, and then when updates were pushed and the correct balance was fixed, it comes nowhere near to the amount of PAC needed to have 60% of the current network. That's just the facts and numbers. So it's kind of insanity to even start to believe that. Oh, I actually heard about that conference, Def 4. Yeah, I did hear about that conference. I actually wonder if it's still happening. Being in the medical field and all, I see that being one of the very first conferences that gets canceled. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I've said this before, these are the fun parts of my conversation. So I'm just going to staple this here on out for the rest of this seminar. Nothing I say is like factual or planned stuff that we want to do, but it's things that we've talked about and just ideas and brainstorming. Obviously we can't do anything without consensus anyways, but this is a great question. Canamando said, would you consider having the possibility to add smaller master nodes and the price goes up so that more people can support the network? Of course, with less collateral and less rewards. That's what I thought you meant anyways by smaller master nodes, smaller collateral, which means that your reward would be, and obviously smaller than if your master node is 500,000, but then vice versa. What about master nodes that require more collateral? There's different ways to attempt that. You could attempt that by having different nodes perform different ways, um, or different nodes have different requirements for their servers. Um, but that's in my opinion, when we get there kind of approach, because network has consistently grown, and I don't see that stopping. And even in the event that it does slow down, it allows not collateral, but supply of PAC to be used in the different ways that are presented coming up in our production and our different avenues that you'll be seeing this year. But yeah, it would be kind of cool to just at least experiment with that. And what's also cool to think about is we could very well have, like, there's a token layer added, right? So as that advances, there could be different projects that are ran on the PAC protocol network. That PAC protocol network has their own nodes, right? Um, but your project on top of that, you could theoretically have, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I think that's more of a when we get there approach. There's a lot of cool ideas that you can do now. But is it advantageous to everyone, or is it just only advantageous to the more people, to the new people? Like, you don't want to do something that is not beneficial for those that are already supporting the network, just to add in benefits for only new people. It kind of sounds like that new customer versus old customer, deals that people get upset about. Like, oh, new customers, they get free TV for a month or 3 months or whatever. But the old customers, like, we're not going to offer you anything. So um, they did when you were a new, like, when you were originally a new customer, but now that you're here, like, we don't obviously want to start offering things like that on this network, to where it's like, oh, you were here forever, and now someone who wants to also help the network at this point can do the exact same thing you did, but at a lower rate, but still the ROI in Retro's term is the same. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of cool ways, a lot of cool things that we can discuss there, but we're just not there yet to start having that debate. Um, It was discussed in the past, probably before a lot of new people joined PAC protocol, but it was discussed in the past, the opposite of what you mentioned, of master nodes being 1 million coins or 2 million coins or 5 million coins. Um, Luckily, we did not do that. I was actually one of the advocates to say do not do that because of reasons like this. If master nodes were a million coins each, first of all, I did not want to start taking that. I would never want to do that unless it's still an option to keep the original, because that would literally smack away everyone's masternode if they had one, unless they had two. But that's not fair, in my opinion, to just say, okay, we went to 500K to now a million. If you only had one masternode, guess what? Now you're screwed. You don't have a masternode anymore, and you have to go get more PAC. Like, the only way that makes sense to me is if it's, you can still keep your 500K masternode, and here's a reward scheme still. It's the same. We're not going to change it for you. But if you have a million, here it is, and it's more. But then that now adds supply. You understand? Because now you're adding another reward scheme to the network that, it's going to change the amount of PAC that is being sent out per block. It wouldn't be the same unless you're hurting one masternode and helping the other, which, then you see how political that can get. It would just be kind of a nightmare, in my opinion, to start introducing that stuff unless you don't mess with the original benefits. Because for PAC, you have 80, you got the masternode rewards, and then you have the amount for POS. If you add any rewards, you're either changing the supply, because now that per block supply is different, or you're changing where the reward's going. You look at it just at a table. You got the masternode reward, the POS reward. I guess the allocation would be coming from the amount of coins that are directed towards Superblock, capable of being paid out in the proposals. But see, that's another thing that maybe people overlook too, is the super block is not a guarantee. You have to make a proposal, and it has to be fun. It has to be approved. And it's also, proposals do not have to be the full amount of the super block. I mean, it has in the past because of whatever reason, or just the use of PAC or the value of it or whatever. It doesn't matter. you don't have to use all of it. You could, make a proposal for 10,000 PAC, and if that's funded, you get paid out 10,000 PAC. But in the event that every single month that a super block does not get funded, those coins never, ever, ever come into existence, ever. It's basically as if they were there and then the private key got lost and it just stays within the network. It's just never coming out. So that's a huge way that the supply of PAC is actually like going, it's super deflationary versus like the amount that's total, like the 50 billion. Well, look how much PAC per month is available. And if that month is not used or just half of it or none of it, that is deducted from the total supply that can circulate because it's gone. It's not going to come back. So that's another way that, if you add another layer, another masternode layer, and you're like, okay, I want it to be 250,000 PAC and they're going to be rewarded with half the amount of PAC that 500K masternodes get, you would then take that allocation from Superblock and you would put it for that. I mean, one way you could do it, I guess. But then you're now adding to the guaranteed amount of PAC that will be, sent out into the network, adding to the circulating supply that's guaranteed per block, every single block. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things to think about. Oh, absolutely. Uh, Absolutely. That sounds a great idea. Maybe we could eventually create an NFT collection rewarded to the master nodes active for 12 months, 24 months. Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have NFT support here. I've mentioned many times our creative team has been expanding. That's part of our brand awareness, and it's going to be a huge factor of when this is up and running and active. We can do so much cool stuff with the community and the active masternode holders, attach NFT airdrops to these masternode net node owners' addresses, so that we can, have cool limited edition series of NFTs designed by our creative designers that we bring on, to represent the Wolf Pack, to represent whatever. In the future, have a marketplace for these NFTs to be listed by anyone that has them, and then airdrop them to masternode owners at a rate that makes sense, or whenever, like just to celebrate with the people operating this network. It's cool, and you'll be able to collect your own like digital trading cards or digital pack cards or whatever you want to call them. That would be awesome. I think that would be a really cool idea. So maybe it's something that happens. That's cool. We definitely have the minds for that. Yep, NFT minting for art and music should be as simple as scanning and saving. I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. Upload a file, select file, mint as NFT. File is now stored and minted and verified owner. Absolutely. A lot of that can just be done easily with automation. Well, I shouldn't say easily. Like the work to get there isn't easy, but it would be easy for the user. Scan, upload, click, mint, pay the fee, done. Don't do any of the work, just click a few buttons. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to end it there. We're at the 58-minute mark. I appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you, Kuhn, again, for this awesome blanket. I also got some really cool throw pillows. I'm going to try and put like a shelf there, something, like stack them in there. He also hooked me up with all these hats, tons of hats, got some shirts, got some jackets. So I have enough representation for this stream now for PAC Protocol. Even got some mugs. And I got you guys here as well. So perfect. I think we're looking good, and I appreciate you being here. Okay. Have a good one.